Hey there, and welcome back to the RTT experience. If you are tired of yelling at your kids and losing your patience day after day, and you're ready to break the cycle and become the patient parent you know you can be, this episode is for you. Today we have Danielle Land with us, and I can't wait to hear about her journey. Danielle is certified in Rapid Transformational Therapy and coaching, and she specializes in helping parents transform their relationships with their children by addressing the root causes of their triggers and reactions. Let's dive right in. Hi Danielle, I am so excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's really nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, so I am so curious to know about your journey with RTT. I love hearing people's stories about their transformations, and I can't wait to hear yours. So you can start anywhere. How did you even come across RTT?
How did I come across RTT? I was listening to a podcast, personal development podcast by a female coach, and I loved listening to this podcast, and she had a guest speaker on, and this guest speaker started talking about trauma and how she was really hurt, she was really stuck, she had lost, she was pregnant, she had lost the baby, and she was really devastated, and she couldn't sleep, she couldn't eat. It was really hard for her. And she was talking about how Rapid Transformational Therapy really helped change her life. And I heard her, talking about her story, and it was a really short, mini episode kind of thing, maybe 30 minutes long. And so I went home that evening, and in bed I was laying there before going to sleep, and I said to my husband really quick, I said, I listened to a podcast today, I really want you to hear it. Will you listen to it? And he said, sure, right? So I play it. And I'm like, I think I need this. I think I need RTT. And he was like, okay. And then we went to sleep, and there was nothing for a couple of weeks. And if you knew my husband, you would understand why. He takes like a whole lunar cycle to make a decision, which is good. It's a very, I aspire to be more like him, more patient. Vision making, right? It's beautiful. But anyhow, so, weeks later, he says, I sent you an email. Did you look at it? And I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. No, none. And like a day or two later, he's like, did you look at that email? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, you should look at that email. And I'm like, what, you want me to pull it up like right now? And he's like, yeah, you probably should look at that email. So I pulled it up right then and there, and it was a woman who was local to me who was trained in RTT. I did not know that Marissa Peer even existed. I just knew of this woman who was promoting it and heard of him. So my husband did all of this research behind the scenes. He looked into RTT, what is it, what does it do? And he found out that it was created by Marissa Peer.
That's amazing. He did all the research for you.
Yeah, I just knew in my heart that that's what I needed. And when I tell him that, like, he knows me well enough that he's like, she's so emotional. She doesn't know how to make a decision one way or the other, which is, I could learn a lot from him in that space. So, and which is why I lean on him in that area, right? I just throw it out. I'm like, I think I need this. And
so let me ask you, when you had that thought, I think I need this, what was it about? What did you hear in that episode that made you feel like I need this?
I had been struggling with my own, I was a new mother. I had, at the time, my boys are 18 months apart. I'm pretty sure that my oldest was 6 at that time. So I had like a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old, So it was just, it's this way for me. And I knew my attachment style growing up was definitely not secure, and I had a lot of struggles when it came to relationships and learning how to be secure in my own skin and having emotional intelligence, security, safety, those kind of things, totally unavailable in my childhood. And my mother transitioned into spirit when I was 22, going on 23, in a pretty dramatic way. And the things around in my life that were happening in my life at that time were very hard. And it was very confusing, and it instilled a lot of really limiting beliefs in me. And oh wow, did I go down a really dark road? I spiraled into a really dark place. And it took me a long time to come out of it, even when I met the husband that I am with now. I have been married more than once. When I met him, I didn't trust it at all. And literally threw it away. And then realized what I threw away. And asked if there was forgiveness and redemption in that space. And for whatever reason, there was. And now, here we are, 10 years later with 3 beautiful children, trying to figure out how do we keep them emotionally safe as well, right? So in understanding, everything, hindsight is so 2020. Before RTT, I was so confused and so lost in it all. I didn't understand how the pieces connected. There's this thing called DMN, it's default network mode. And it's in our brain, like it's a part of us, a part of our brain that happens that lets us have introspect and this inner dialogue and retrospect, introspect, those kind of things, right? And a lot of times what happens is we don't use it properly and we get stuck in it as like an automation. And when it's really quite interesting is that I didn't understand what DMN was and how it really does, like, it's what runs your life. It's really kind of it's that subconscious.
Would you think, yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that similar to the subconscious mind, where you're just basically on autopilot and you do things without even thinking. You think you're in control, but you're really not. It's your subconscious mind, right?
Right, it is. It's very much living in it's letting the subconscious mind drive the show without realizing that it's driving the show.
So was that like your biggest, the biggest eye-opening thing for you with RTT, that you realized you had this thing running your life?
It was like letting my subconscious mind and my conscious mind have a conversation. And the thing about it is that the conscious mind knows how old you are, but the subconscious mind is stuck at whatever age that happened. And it doesn't understand the personal development and growth and ability and capability that you develop as a person over time if you are aware and try, right? Even if you're aware and trying, it doesn't recognize how old you are. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that it caught up. They got on the same page. It was like letting my subconscious mind and my conscious mind have a conversation.
Kind of meet each other for the first time.
They were able to have a really meaningful conversation with each other that said, hey, I know you feel this way because this happened and this happened and this happened and then this even happened, and what in the odds, this happened on top of it, and it just affirmed it all. But then you say, okay, but there's this and this and this and this, and so it's not really that way. Or it was that way, but it's not helping me anymore. One or the other, right? And so that was really
the brain is so interesting and so amazing to me. So do you think that because of that reason, a lot of people are still stuck in that trauma or in that whatever happened, because the subconscious mind is still thinking it's stuck in that moment when it happened and they never had that conversation?
Right. See, well, the science behind it, right, is what neurons that fire together wire together. So when that happened, there was a neuron connection in your brain that said, this is how things work this way. And that's how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we learn, that's how we grow, is we experiment, we try things, we see the result, and we say, oh, okay, well, X plus Y equals Z. And in that instance, the very first time experiencing something, if it happens to be something that is emotionally unsafe and sends you into fight or flight, freeze, blah, 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 because there's 5 Fs, not just 3.
Mm-hmm.
But when it sends you into I call them 5 Fs, when it sends you into the 5 Fs, your brain cannot think. You're now in survival mode, right? And your brain is doing what it's supposed to do, protecting you.
To protect you.
Doesn't realize that this is an emotional threat, not a life-threatening threat, and that you can actually calm down and think about it. See, as a child, it was life-threatening. We didn't have the security of adulthood on our side. So it changes everything.
Mm-hmm. And what happens once you realize, but now I'm an adult, and now I don't have to react
right
that
so
way? Does your life change? Is that what happened?
Absolutely. Okay, so I've done so much research in this space and so much learning and so much growth that I actually have learned through neuroscience that it actually physically resets your immune system back to its original imprint.
Wow. Mind-blowing. So how did you, I'm just so curious, was your background in psychology at all? How did you start doing all this research, learning about it? Because so first you used it for you. You had this aha moment and it kind of changed your life, and then you decided to become a therapist? Is that what happened?
I had this really amazing journey with the RTT therapist my husband found for me that sent me the email, right? So I looked at the email and I read this woman's profile, and she lived a couple of hours north of us, and she was the most local person, and I wanted to see someone in person. And so she was willing to let me see her in person, and so we set it all up. I drove up to see her. We had our first session, and driving home, there was something that happened a couple of years prior in Dallas that was very hard for me. And it was about what I did before I became a rapid transformational therapist. So I'm a stay-at-home mom. And being a stay-at-home mom, I was so desperate for connection. I'm living in a new small town that I did not grow up in and I don't know, and everybody has family here, so they don't need connection. They're not looking for it at all. Right. So I was very lonely as a new mother and struggling in this space. And so I hooked up with a direct sales skincare line. Okay. And I started selling skincare.
Okay, so you were doing skincare before.
Yeah, I still do. I love it. I can't get away from it. It's one of my favorite things ever, right? Uh-huh. Because it brought me to personal development. It brought me to self-care, self-love. I mean, it just was a perfect road. I would have never known the woman who was on the podcast. She was at our convention. And so I saw her in person. And I heard about her books, and so I read her books, and it was just this thing that magically unfolded for me. It was God's gift to my unfolding in my life, right?
Funny how things kind of line up and happen based on what you need at the time, right?
Yeah, I had never applied myself to anything because I was undiagnosed dyslexic, and I struggled all through school. So of course, when I graduated high school, I had no idea. Like, I did try to go to college, and it was so hard for me. I took the first semester and I never signed back up. It was done. And so it was unavailable to me. I wasn't enough. My brain was broken. I couldn't do the work. And so it was really hard for me. And I didn't know that until my first son went into school and I saw his struggles, and I'm like, okay, this is something more beyond me just being limited, right? So getting him in and understanding, having his diagnosis of dyslexia, realizing that he struggles exactly the same as I did.
Mm-hmm. So you figured I have it too then.
Knowing now, confirming that, yes, I in fact do. I always joked around. When I was in 6th grade, I could not read a clock. Okay, it was that bad. I couldn't read a clock. And finally, when I was in 6th grade, my mom bought me a Goofy watch, a Disney Goofy watch.
I remember those.
You don't know them, they go backwards. Well, let me tell you, all of a sudden, I could tell time. Like, no level.
I wonder how many adults have discovered that they've been diagnosed through their children. Because,
Absolutely.
Years ago, I don't think people were diagnosed as they are now. Like kids today.
No, and even today, my youngest son is actually one of these people who struggle like I did, because he doesn't flag. He is so able to overcompensate. I did not overcompensate. He was nonverbal at 18 months. Both my youngest and my oldest were nonverbal at 18 months, and so they got into speech therapy. I was very proactive in getting them the help they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them are autistic. They're both ADHD. They have, and I know now why. I mean, thank God for all of the psychologists who have really pushed neuroscience to understand all of the things that we now know, because it just makes so much sense to me, right?
Yeah, we have a lot more information now than we did years ago.
It's mind-blowing, right? The evolution, what computers have been able to provide with the brain imaging and being able to, have people brave enough to be guinea pigs and let people into their vulnerable space like that and let them learn about the human brain and emotion together.
Right. Yeah, there's just so many sources of information now, and so many podcasts and people you can learn from. It's really great. But I want to go back to this question before I forget. I gotta ask you. You drove 2 hours to meet with this lady. You had a session, which I think is super brave. Were you skeptical? How was that session like? How did you feel afterwards? I have so many questions.
Right? Okay, so was I skeptical? No, because I listened to that podcast and I knew that was what was going to help me.
But you had never did you know that there was going to be hypnosis involved?
I had no idea I was getting hypnotized. Even afterwards, I had no idea. I mean, I even read the lady's page and everything. I didn't read it, and I just saw I was looking at the feelings, right? Her messaging hit me. It was like, I know that I struggle. I knew that I struggled. I had been seeing psychotherapy for 2.5 years at that point in time, trying to figure out how I could stop yelling at my kids and acting like my dad.
So you had tried different types of therapy before and you hadn't seen results?
I mean, yeah, and even still am in therapy, but it's for a different cause now. Mm-hmm. See, there's it's so fun. Okay, the realization of how I let my life get driven, because we allow our life to be driven.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No one else does. I mean, even as children, we are shaped and we are conditioned by certain things environmentally and societally and all of this stuff.
It's all around us.
Choice to choose what to adapt, what to believe, what to agree with. Right? It's always our choice. And I think that was one of the biggest things that RTT gave me, was it gave me my choice back. It allowed me to reclaim my power.
Did that one session do that for you? Or
one session did it for me, because I was struggling in the space of, I'm not good enough. I mean, I was all three of them. I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, and it's not available to me. So, I mean, it was all of them, and those stories were huge in my life. I mean, because I wasn't enough, because I was different, I wasn't enough, and because I wasn't enough, it wasn't available to me. It was in that order. And so, and as you can see, like as a child going through, getting passed through the system, like literally made 70s.
Passing.
Passed through. Like I probably shouldn't have passed the grade. They just didn't want to fail me and keep me back, right? Because they didn't know what to do for me. I was good. I tried. I was broken. And they didn't understand what was broken. It wasn't broken. But that was the belief that was instilled in me.
Right.
And so it really hurt me as a child. And it led me to be living in a victim mentality. I mean, I was a victim big time, and everything happened to me, you know? And I did grow up in a place of childhood abuse. I mean, my dad, he spanked me a lot and hard, and I would run in circles, and if I would run in circles, he'd hit me harder. So there are things that, I mean, I think even my neighbors were like wanting to call CPS on my dad, but it was like, if we have her taken away, she's going to go into the system and it's going to be just as bad. So why don't we just leave her with the abusive parent she's with, because they provide for her well enough.
Wow.
It is that way, you know, and it's that way for a lot of people because, you know.
So what was your main takeaway then? So when you do a session and you go back and you see yourself getting spanked or you know, back in that situation where you're a little kid and you're going through, you know, the trauma and does it take you, like, do you relive the experience, or are you able to look at it from your adult point of view now, and you're able to make a connection that allows the healing, or how does that work?
How did it work for me? So for me, really, I think because I didn't know what I knew hypnotism. I know what hypnotism is in a stage presence kind of a sense, right?
Right, most people have, yeah.
No idea what it was, but I also didn't know that I was going in for hypnotism. Okay, so there was also that kind of like ignorance is bliss in a way, or it can really be beneficial. It can really help you when you just let go of the attachment of something as this. Okay, because me not understanding what it was and just going in, I had practiced with Mind Valley a little bit, so I had done meditation. It taught me, you know, how to, you know, count myself down and relax and go into different brainwave states. So I understood what was happening without that label.
Okay, so you kind of were just like, you walked into it, not really with expectations.
But I knew that it was very similar to meditation because I had just learned meditation and not guided meditation, but even you guiding yourself meditation. And learning, you know, having someone teach me how to do it in a meditative state, which is really cool. So if you've never tried Mind Valley, it's a fun thing. Anyhow,
I am familiar with Mind Valley. I love it.
I've learned so much from them. Another one of those resources, right? However, anyhow, the fact that Mind Valley helped me learn how to meditate, and then I went into this, and my therapist was really sweet. She said, I'm going to send you a priming recording so you can understand what it is. Have you ever... And I think she asked me meditate. She never used hypnosis.
Oh, wow.
I never asked. She didn't say it. And it was just one of those things it didn't need to be said.
But that's probably a good thing, because I wonder how many people would get skeptical or kind of scared if you say the word.
It would have impacted It would have impacted how it worked, because it's all about the belief. You asked me, I knew it was going to work. Nobody could the therapist couldn't make it work for me. And RTT won't work for just anybody unless you believe it will work for you.
So it's really all in our heads, right? If
all in your
you
head.
do your own healing.
It's not, because you're not going to allow it, because you're not ready for that change.
You're not open to it.
You have to be ready for the change. And let me tell you, 4 years ago, I was not ready for the change. It was bracing for this change. I mean, I went to a therapist and she was really, really kind of raw about my vulnerabilities. And I was like, oh, that hurt. And it made it even harder to do therapy, to be quite honest. I was not skeptical. What I was scared to let people in and know my unspeakable truths, my hidden things that nobody else knew, that only I knew. Those really deep vulnerabilities, right? Because the definition of vulnerability doesn't lead it out to be a very good thing.
So you have to be willing to be open and honest.
You have to be in a safe place.
Yes, you have to feel safe, right?
And I think that was one of the biggest things that RTT gave to me, was that safe place. Because it's client-led, right? It isn't someone saying their beliefs on you. It's facts, right? We look at facts of what actually happened. And then we ask the client, how did it feel? How would it feel? How do you want it to feel, right? So it's all about the client and their feelings and what they believe, what's inside them. And I think that was really the thing that resonated the most with me, was that this woman, she challenged the beliefs that nobody else would challenge. Right. And that was remarkable, right? I had been an alcoholic for 9 years, and I never, I would not drink again, because, when you're an alcoholic, you can't do that again because it's a slippery slope.
Right.
She challenged me on that, and she's like, why? Right?
So they're very different than traditional therapy then, right?
Totally different, right? Totally different, because who else would have been challenging me on why? And it really helped me understand the psychology of why I felt limited there. Now I don't feel limited there. I did actually have a drink of wine because I wanted to see if I could control myself, and it's very freeing, because I don't.
Oh, wow.
I did not even finish the glass of wine. I threw it on the ground. Threw it out. It was nasty. I'm like, oh my God, that's gross. Oh. So, I mean, that's the beauty of it, is that it just helps you reset the thoughts. And let me tell you, was it easy? No. I know that, some people can see something that they, like for me, instance, yelling at my kids when they upset me because they didn't do something in alignment with what I believe. Stop. This is not okay. Let them live their life. Protect them, make them safe. But don't enforce my beliefs on them. Let them create their own. And I was struggling with even going through RTT. When I went through my training and I was at, live, I was desperate to get up on stage with Marissa to help her fix me so that I wouldn't yell at my kids anymore, right? And it's all really just an evolution, because even though I wasn't up on that stage, I learned. I learned about my brain, I learned about my reactions, and I learned about how I was. If I'd been, even though I wasn't being guided, I could still answer questions in my head and guide me through in my own little thing.
So after you had the session for yourself, and then you started seeing results in yourself, how soon after that did you decide, I'm gonna go become a therapist?
So it was in my 6th session. I had finished my session. My session was Future Self. No, it was my 5th session. Excuse me. I apologize. My 5th session. I had asked my therapist. We had worked a lot on personal development. self-love, patience, instilling that, I have the swab to be the mother I wanted to be instead of the dad that I had.
So this is that same therapist you went to see that first time?
Yeah.
The RTT, okay, and then you had 6 sessions with her. Okay.
Yeah, my husband found her on Marissa's site. So she had done an inline training. She was actual therapist. And so I went to her and we did 6 sessions together. I did not do all of them in person. I only did 2 in person. And then I did the rest of them from home. And it was really remarkable. I don't notice any difference between in person, or the only thing is that she couldn't do some of the physical surrenders. And I do feel that they're powerful because they create a new wire.
Okay, so it was kind of like if you do a guided meditation and you're listening to someone, you're not physically there with them.
No.
Right? So is that what it was like?
Exactly. It's just like me and you here, and then I just start to relax and go into meditation. And while I'm meditating, you ask me the questions and I'm answering. So it's not even like, I was like, are you sure that I'm meditating? I don't think I am. I am. And then after finding out that it was hypnosis, right? I'm like, I don't know if I was hypnotized or not.
Right. So it's not
things, but it's not about that. It doesn't feel any different.
Okay. So you're just in this really, really relaxed state.
That's exactly why. You need to be relaxed, because when you're going back to those scary childhood moments and your nervous system remembers, because wire fire, right? So the neurons in the brain are wiring and firing together, and they're wiring and firing together again, and it thinks it's happening again. It literally thinks that point in time is being recreated again. That's what our nervous system feels. So the nervous system is fooled subconsciously. You have no conscious control over this at all. And it happens in a second, because that's how fast it takes. So these neurons are wired and fired together for the first time in trauma. It happens again. You start to see and feel things kind of the same. So your spidey senses go off, which is your subconscious mind catching all of those things, saying, oh, danger's here, even though it's emotional danger. And it's calling it all out. You're going into fight or flight. You can't think straight, so you act out of turn, not thinking properly. And then you wind up yelling at your kids again, because you're reliving the moment that you were with your dad beating you.
Right. No, it makes sense, yeah.
And so it's literally wired into your nervous system and sends you into a place where you cannot go. And so I was struggling with that, and that connection being dissolved.
And now when you want to yell at your kids, what happens? Those same wiring and firing doesn't...
It still does, okay? Because it takes time, right? And it, for me, it takes time. There's people I know have changed overnight. Literally, they come out and they're totally different with everybody. I was. The problem is that the outer world does not understand what happened in here. So they're not caught up with it. So they're not reacting to you in a way that presents what you're wanting to reflect now. And it's this struggle. So if you are not aware of that, and you don't have security in the person who you don't have imposter syndrome coming up. You don't have all of this oh, but it's really not me. It's fake. I'm a facade or whatever, those kind of fears, which is something I struggled with hugely. So I think it just depends on the person, right? Because it's a journey. I'm in the moment. They're testing my patience, they're doing things, and it's not, and it is okay, it's out of things that they're now doing things that I didn't like when I was a kid, and I have to learn how to be flexible, right? So this is about learning how to be a better parent, learning how to parent better than my parents parented me, learning how to relax in the anger and understand that this is just emotionally trying to tell me something. I need to teach my kids something. Instead of yelling at them, I need to teach them. They're disciples.
So you deal with it a little bit differently than you did before.
Absolutely. It changes things in a way that I know when I start feeling that way, I know that I am being triggered in my nervous system because of something is going on, and I can take a moment now instead of react. It gave me the power of choice.
So now you actually realize when you're being triggered, instead of just reacting, you realize this is a trigger, and then you're able to.
Yeah, and before I didn't know.
That's beautiful.
It's a belief, right? It's not supposed to be that way. Please don't do that. We're going to be one of the big struggles. We're going to be late. Go get in the car. We've got to get to school. We're going to be late if we don't get to school on time.
Right.
And so there's a big struggle on that. But now it's like, relax, have fun, enjoy yourself instead of being aggravated about the situation, right? Because when I was younger, it was a big problem. We were always late.
I think that's a problem for a lot of every mom with little kids is trying to get to school on time. So if you can just lower that stress level and learn how to deal with that, that's awesome.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, the being able to have fun with my kids. It's hard because I was punished for having fun, so it's hard to relearn that, right? But learning to have fun with my kids has really helped change all of our lives in a way that's so much more beneficial. Even the teachers at school have literally stayed outside during pickup time when they're not supposed to. They're supposed to be inside to tell me in person the difference they've seen in my children.
Oh, wow. So let me ask you, now that you've decided to go through Marissa Peer's training, when did you finish? When did you get certified?
I got certified in July of 2024.
Oh, okay. So not too long ago. How has that?
It's been about 6 months that a little over 6 months that I've been practicing now.
Tell me a little bit about what that's like. Now that you've finished and now you're going to be building a practice and helping other people, what area have you decided to focus on?
Right. I am helping high-functioning parents break free from their generational patterns and cycles, and really helping them to transform their nervous system, heal that nervous system, right? Recognize it. And then when I say heal it, it doesn't mean that it ever changes, right? Because once you see a picture of something, you can't unsee it, right? But you can choose which one you're going to go with, right? You can look at it. It's so much like the Beautiful Minds movie. Have you seen the movie Beautiful Mind?
I want to say I have, but I think it was so long ago. Remind me.
So it's about a man who grows up and he sees people. He's got 3 people always with him, and they tell him what to do.
Oh,
where to go.
No.
And it's the story about his struggle with these 3 people, who are imaginary people in his life. And at the end of the movie, or towards the end of the movie, like the climax of the movie, he's realizing that he can choose to fight for the people that are imaginary to everyone else, or he can surrender to the fact that they are invisible to everyone else and that he can listen to them and they can guide him, but that he doesn't have to let the outer world know. Right? And it's really kind of that way, because our emotions are our compass. They're our guide. they're not to say that something's good or bad. There's nothing good or bad. There's no good or bad. It's the way we want to label that. So if it's uncomfortable for us, it's just a shoe that doesn't fit. Pass it on to the next person. It might fit them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's one of the things that I've really kind of taken away from it too, is that all of this control, OCD, like, oh, do not mess up the world because I can't handle it, okay? Don't change things. Now you can. I mean, change it all because it's okay. We'll figure it out, right? But before, if something was to be changed or different, it was so hard to know if it was safe, right? Because of the rules of the mind. When you grow up in a place where you're constantly guessing if the love is going to be there or not, because it was there, but then it also wasn't there. And I never knew when it was going to be there, if it was going to be safe to be in that space. So I didn't know to run from my caregiver
or hide.
Yeah, do I run to or from? Where do I go? Because everything inside of me is telling me to run away, but I don't know how else to. Like, I literally did try to run away a couple of times when I was little.
When you were little, yeah.
Yeah, and I would sit at the bridge and I'd cry because where am I going to go?
Yeah.
And so I'd just walk back home. And I'm sure the neighbors that were wanting to call CPS saw me run down the street to the little creek by their house all the time, which is why they contemplated it, right? My little bag.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to believe these things and to let it in and to let it hurt us, you know?
And so now you have these tools that you can use, and you're helping other people as well.
Right. And the way that I tell my story is different, right? I mean, I can talk about how it used to be for me, and I can joke about it, right? And explain it in a way to people now that it makes sense, but I don't think that way. I have this awareness now that it's like, if it does start to creep in, that uncertainty, the doubt, the fear, we're human.
Right.
We're human. I mean, that's like the whole ideology of the symbolism of Jesus dying on the cross for our sins, right? Is that no one's perfect. We all make mistakes. And so when we can look at that, there's redemption.
Yes, I think life is just a journey, and we're always going to constantly be learning. We acquire tools to help us live a better life, but we're always learning. And I think on this journey, once we find the tools that work for us, then we all have this feeling that we kind of want to share what works. You know, if you found the tools that work for you, and you've seen results and it's changing your life, then you naturally want to be able to help other people. So for anybody watching this that is just amazed by how your life has changed, what would you recommend?
So, I mean, yes, reach out to me, reach out to any RTT therapist, okay, first off. If they resonate with you, if you get on the phone with them and you start talking to them and you feel uncertain about the job that they're going to be able to provide for you and it doesn't feel right, call another one, right? Because just because that one RTT practitioner therapist is not professional, right? We're going to call them RTT professionals. If that RTT professional isn't a match for you, that's okay.
Yeah, you want to have a connection, right?
So it's not a one size fits all. It's just like the shoe analogy, right? It's like this person might not match you. So their life experience might not lead them to be able to help guide you in an understanding.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many different reasons why belief systems have to kind of match up, and there's a lot. Spiritually, I think it matters how you resonate with with the person that you work with.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
of your beliefs. I mean, these are really deep, sacred moments that are vulnerable. These are your vulnerabilities, the unspoken truths that you are telling this person, right? So you have to make sure that you resonate with them, that their ideology is similar with yours at least, right? That you can sit in the same room and be friends together, right? Because that's the person that's going to be guiding you. That's the person that's going to be, you're going to have to open up to this person a lot. And so if you don't feel comfortable, you're not going to get your money's worth, because it's all in your mind. You are the person that's going to let this happen. You can do this work on your own. But are you going to get the quicker results? Are you going to get that reflection back? Are you going to get the things fed to you in a personalized manner? No.
Right.
So why I say RTT, go to an RTT therapist.
So it's like if you're trying to, when you begin meditating, guided meditation is always a little bit easier in the beginning than if you just try to do it on your own. You're probably not going to be able to quiet your mind, on your own.
What is meditation, right? When you've never done it, you don't have the picture or the blueprint or the roadmap of what that looks like and how to do it. How does it feel? What does it look like? How does it smell? How does it taste? We need all of these. That's why we have senses. We collect all of this data and then we say, oh, this is what it equals. And so that's really kind of, it just helps you sort it all out in a way that's so beautiful. That's all I can say. It just makes it all make sense.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for being so open, for taking the time to share everything, and being so kind with just sharing your journey. And I'm sure you have helped someone out there with your stories. A lot of people probably can relate to what your life was like before RTT, and they probably look at what the way you look at things now, and they probably want to either reach out to you or find their closest or local RTT professional. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope I instill that same confidence of this is what I need in someone else when they hear my story.
And so I will put all of your contact information down below this video. And if you want to share it as well, do you have, how would someone be able to get in touch with you?
It's really easy. You just go to danelleland.com.
danelleland.com.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, all right. Well, we will be sure to put it down below in the description. And again, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate you very much. It was a pleasure to have time with you today.
Hey, if you got value from this conversation, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next episode. Also, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And remember, a transformation in your personality or in your life does not have to take months or even years of therapy. I can personally say that change can happen very, very fast. Until next time, stay blessed.